Here we are again at the scene of the crime. Now they thrust these representation papers in Gregson's face and see what he makes of them. Hello again, Inspector. Do you have a minute, please? What is it now? You should go home and get some rest. Here you are, Gregsy. Here are the representation papers. Your ladyship! How? I don't believe it! How the devil did you get that stubborn little ragabash to sign that? I salute you. That is good work, that is. I can see you've been very busy here as well. How about some tea? It's a special blend designed to relieve fatigue. Ah, lovely. Well, let's see now. Yes, yes, I hardly feel tired at all. I'm fit as a fiddle, your ladyship. Would it be alright if we investigated the scene of the crime then? Do as you please. You know where it happened, through the door behind the counter. Yes, the storeroom. That's where I discovered Mr. Windibank and Gina. Right, well, I'll be getting back to business then. Will you be investigating in the storeroom as well, Inspector? If I'm perfectly honest, we need to wrap this up before long. Can't afford to spend too much time on it. But there are so many articles to go through, it's taking forever, even with the lads working around the clock. Which is a problem, because there's another case the yard needs to investigate urgently. That must be what Lord Stronghart meant by far more serious matters before. So what I'm saying is, don't get out of my feet, sunshine. Come then, let us not waste any time. Behind that door is the storeroom, isn't it? That's what Gregsy said. Yes, and that's where I saw that dreadful scene last night. Through the little window in the door. Mr. Windibank, face down on the floor, with Gina beside him. As the accused legal representative, you have the right to examine the scene, Mr. Naruhodo. We must make a thorough investigation. Yes, of course. And we will. Behind that door, that's the real scene of the crime. Don't worry, if there are clues in there, I'll find them. There we are. Poor Iris. She's clammed up completely. Iris is bound to find this difficult. After all, Mr. Windibank's life was taken in this very room only last night. Ah! Wait, Inspector? What is it now, Sunshine? You took one look at me and tried to run away. You think a Scotland Yard inspector would run away from some jumped up little defense lawyer, do ya? Well... I've never seen her relationship looking like that before, is the thing. I didn't know what to say to her. So you weren't running away from me, you were running away from a 10-year-old. I'm afraid this is all a little much for young Iris. Some gentle reassurance might go a long way, perhaps, Inspector. Eh? Ahem. Don't trouble yourself unduly, your ladyship. I mean, at least you're not dead, are you? Jesus Christ, man! Like, there is some stuff that you need to say between point A and point B before you lead with that. I don't think that went very well. Why? Look, I'm in the middle of investigation here, Sunshine, and I told you not to get under my feet. What did I do? And we have investigated you ourselves. Yes. I'd like to hear more of what the socially inept inspector has to say. Oh, Hurley. And inquire into how Mr. Sholm's operation is going. So, Inspector, what do you make of the crime scene here? Pshaw, you got eyes, haven't you? Use them! It's what it looks like. Nothing more, nothing less. Iris, could you lend me a hand? So, Gregsy, what do you make of the crime scene here? Oh yes, your ladyship. Do allow me to humbly explain. Last night, at shortly after the hour of 1 o'clock in the morning, Scotland Yard police attended to the scene. The one and only door to this storeroom was found locked from the inside. So it was locked from the inside. The lock appears to be broken now, though. Was that the police's officers doing? Quite right, madam. Quite right. We took the liberty of smashing the door in, as humbly as possible. Oh. As you can see, the victim was discovered prostrate on the floor, thuswise. And next to the aforementioned body, we discovered the vile gutter child. Are you talking about Ginny? She's my friend, you know, Inspector. Miss Lestrade, the hapless girl, was curled up on the floor, dead to the world. She's still alive, you know. Yes, when I saw her, she appeared to be unconscious. I'm afraid to say, she had the gun that was used in her hand. No! Presumably, it's the gun that's still there on the floor now. In her pocket, we found the key to the door as well. What? The key to the storeroom? And you say the storeroom has been locked from the inside, Inspector? Correct. All of which leaves her ladyship's friend in something of a sticky situation, I'm afraid. Obviously, my personal opinion is that it's all some sort of misunderstanding. Of course it is, Inspector. Of course it is. Gregsy, do you know anything about Hurley? Is the operation finished? Is Hurley alright? Is he? Thing is, don't mince your words, Inspector. Please! You don't mean to say that Mr. Sholmes is... No! The operation's done and dusted. It's just that, well... Out with it! Yes, ma'am! They use something called a general anesthetic. It's the latest thing. Renders the whole body insensitive. The whole body anesthetized, I guess. Is that even possible? It means the operation can be completed while the patient is fast asleep. Goodness, in the Empire of Japan, we can just manage to provide laughing gas for a tooth extraction. Trouble is, the latest thing isn't always the greatest thing, if you follow my meaning. They couldn't get the medication to work at first, so it took hours for him to nod off, or so I hear. Now that the op's finished, he can't get him to wake up, apparently. Oh my! No one knows if it's the anesthetics in the system, or if the bloke's just plain exhausted. But anyway, all I can do is stand back and watch until he comes around again. Hurley. The moment he opens his eyes, your ladyship, I swear I shall get word to you. What a surprise. Even in matters of life and death, Mr. Sholmes has to do things his way. The police have marked the position of the body with a chalk line. Poor Mr. Windibank. He was a nice old man. Well, he was shot just once through the heart. Most likely, the fellow died instantly. He wouldn't have felt a thing. Aha! I may well be able to help with that. What? There's nothing like the sight of blood to get the blood pumping, is there, Runo? Ugh, I have a feeling I'm not as bloody-minded as you, Iris. I'm afraid the sight of blood makes my blood run cold. There you have it, you see? When it comes to blood, we're all different types. Yes, what a scientific observation. So you need this! Oh no. What is that scary looking thing? Her and I haven't actually come up with a name for it yet. But as soon as you see it in action, you understand what it does. Watch. Oh! The color of the bloodstain has changed! There! Does it make sense now? Yes, I think I'm starting to understand. Good! It works on the principle that different people have different types of blood, you see? Yes! How wonderful! The chemical of fires combines with the blood and makes it change color. So you can identify whose blood it is that you're looking at in a flash. Oh, what a fabulous invention, Iris! Isn't it? Isn't it? I bet Ginny would say it's bleeding great. So, who's supposed to be looking at then? This must be Mr. Windibank's blood. Yes. This is where he was shot, so there can't be any question of that. This could turn out to be a very valuable clue, so we simply must make note of it. Blood analysis has been entered into the court record. Let's keep testing and adding the results of any other blood analysis to the portfolio. As long as I have a regent left, sure. Out of all the articles in the storeroom, this is the only thing that shows any sign of being ransacked. Ah! What is it, Iris? That's the box file that my manuscript is being kept in. Oh! Iris' unpublished story, The Hound of the Baskervilles. Surely, that's not what all this...
Sorry, Iris. If you ask me, he sold it. Without telling you.
We must check inside the box. At once. Yes. Ah! It was there! Iris' story was there. Really? It was? Well, that's good news, isn't it, Iris? Yes. I mean, of course I believed Hurley when he said he deposited it here, but still, it's a relief to actually see it. Really? Because it's not a very well hidden frown. Iris' manuscript has been entered in the court record. This is a revolver, a real one. And quite possibly the murder weapon used to take Mr. Windibank's life. What's the matter, Susie? You and Rena look like you're about to faint. Well, it's just that I've rarely seen a gun in the flesh. And I've had issues with guns in the past. But anyway, we saw Mr. Windibank with us yesterday, didn't we?
I shall have to take my own life.
It must be the same gun. And last night, when I looked through the spy hole in the door in the storeroom here, that was the same gun I saw in Gina's hand. Mr. Windibank told us that he only ever had a single bullet loaded in his revolver, didn't he? Well, it's empty now. The one and only bullet he had in his gun has been fired. So you can be fairly certain that only a single shot was fired from this revolver. Look at all these articles that have been deposited. The room is stuffed full of them. I can't believe how many there are. A bicycle, a gramophone, musical instruments, even some enormous paintings. Look! Pieces of different people's lives, quietly gathering dust in here together. Something very peaceful about the atmosphere in here. Or at least there would be if not for the chalk outline on the floor and the policemen shuffling around. Not much I can do about that, sunshine. Look on the back of this print here. There's something written on it. 13th February, 9 p.m. Article deposited, 1 small box. Loan amount paid, 10 shillings. Redemption deadline, 13th April, 9 p.m. So this photographic print is a redemption ticket? For an article that was deposited 2 days prior to the incident on the omnibus, it would seem. Yes, a small box. Doesn't tell us much about it, does it? Perhaps it contains some valuable mementos? Can't help wondering. Presumably Mr. McGilda never redeemed the article in question since he still had the ticket. So isn't it possible the box is still present somewhere in the shop? Ah, yes! If it's something McGilda deposited, we need to investigate. Wildcat photograph information has been updated in the court record. I'll try moving back to the main shop. See maybe if the box that we need to go to is there. Or it's just generally anything I need to make note of. There's the article that you're here. Mr. Winnebake's notes and... What's this? It looks as though someone has left a little photographic print behind. Oh, look on the back. There's some writing. Is there? Oh, show us, Susie. Show us. 15th February, 10:30 p.m. Article deposited. 1 gentleman's overcoat. Loan amount paid, £1. Redemption deadline, 15th April, 10:30 p.m. Gentleman's overcoat pawned for £1. Certainly it was a very fine coat, in fact, I think. Yes, this must be the ticket for the overcoat that Ginny redeemed yesterday. And is still wearing, which belonged to McGilda. I would never have expected that redemption ticket to be handwritten on the back of a photograph, though. Seems Mr. Winnebank just used whatever piece of paper he happened to have to hand. But this photograph of a cat is very familiar, doesn't it? I'm sure I've seen this exact picture somewhere recently. Oh yes, you're right. Very recently. It's the same as the one Ginny gave us earlier. Of course, I was forgetting that she gave us that print. But what are you waiting for this, Masaharu? Get it out! Alright. Let the cogs turn. Yes, they're exactly the same. Hehe, I've got it. These two photographs hide an amazing secret. A secret? What does she mean? You must tell us, Iris, at once. Hehe. Do you really want to know? Yes, we need you to tell us all you know about this pair of photographs. So Iris, about these two photographic prints. The one we found in here on Mr. Winnebake's counter and the one Gina gave us before. What is this amazing secret you mentioned that's hidden between these two identical prints? Actually, that's not quite right. Sorry? If you look carefully, the two prints aren't the same. Not exactly. They're not? Have another look at them now. Can you see that they're just slightly different from each other? Yeah, the cat's not facing the same direction. I think so. It's very subtle, though. But what's the reason for the subtle difference between the two prints? Ah, well, it's because they're a set, you see. No, I don't. This pair of photographs is meant to be used in a stereoscope. Everyone in London is raving about them at the moment. Ah, a stereoscope. Why do I feel as though I've heard that word before recently? Oh, yes! That's what Mr. Shum showed us yesterday. You see? There it is, just over there. Ah, yes, of course. A magical machine that makes pictures look almost real enough to touch. Hehe. Well, actually, it's quite possible to see the same depth in pictures even without one of those contraptions. What? Really? Do you know how a pair of flat photographer prints can appear to have any depth in the first place? No, I have no idea. Oh, wonderful. Then I'll be able to tell you. She's over the moon, bless her. Should we let her explain, though? We really need to carry on investigating the scene. I, for one, simply have to know. Great. Have you ever considered, Bruno, how our eyes see depths in the world around us? Well, I just open them and it works. But the reason it works is because we have two eyes. Two eyes. Shocking. If you try closing just one eye at a time, I think you'll see straight away what you see with your left eye and what you see with your right eye are ever so slightly different. You get a different view with each eye. Yes, the position of objects seems to shift slightly. Exactly. In your head, your brain uses that shift to estimate the depth as it merges the two views into one. That's how we can sense depth in everything we see. My brain really is amazing, isn't it? It does so much without telling me. Ah, I think I see. So a pair of photographs consists of a left eye view and a right eye view. Is that right? Oh, well done, Susie. You're so quick. So if you can persuade your brain to merge the two pictures together in your head, you'll be able to see the depth in the prints? Yes, Bruno, you're beginning to understand. And a stereoscope's function is to act as your brain and allow you to do just that? Yes, but as long as you have two images, two eyes, and one brain, you can actually do it yourself without needing a stereoscope at all. You can? Really? Let's try it. Let's see if you can view these pair of prints without the help of a stereoscope. Oh yes, I'm dying to have a go. Zetsu-san really loves this kind of thing. You need to be able to cross your eyes. That's the main thing. Can you both do that? Cross my eyes? I think I can. Watch me. See if you can copy. I'm not doing that in real life. Make your eyes do this. Alright, let me try. Are you ready, Mr. Naruto? There, how's that? Wonderful. Now it's your turn, Runo. The trick is to concentrate on looking at the bridge of your nose with both eyes at the same time. Not exactly an easy task when two people are staring at you cross-eyed. Alright, that's enough practice. Now let's try looking at the prints. So everybody's staring at one print. Slowly crossing your eyes. You see two overlapping images like this. You try it now, Runo. I'm just going to have to give it a try, I suppose. Did the print split into two images for you? Now the next step is to put the pair of prints side by side like this, and then try crossing your eyes again. Pictures slowly merge together until They form a new single image in the center. Oh, yes! It's not a huddle, it works! I can see in the middle now. It looks so real! Oh, I could look at it all day. I wouldn't advise that. Your eyes might start to hurt. Your turn, Runo. Pretend you're looking through the two pictures and slowly cross your eyes. Keep adjusting the position of your eye until the two images overlap exactly in the middle. Like this, is it? I keep trying to do it. There, you managed it. So now you know how stereoscopic images work. Well, I don't know who discovered it, but it really is quite extraordinary. So what do you think of these stereoscopic prints then, Runo? They're certainly amazing, but it isn't easy to get the knack of viewing them properly. No, some people find it easier than others. But that's why contraptions like this exist, for people who find it tricky. Oh, I recognize that. We saw one over there yesterday, didn't we? If I remember correctly, you press this little knob here and set a pair of photographs in this stand at the back, and it's still amazing, even though I know roughly how it works now. Well, London seems to agree with you. Stereoscopes are very popular at the moment. You can find one of these folding contraptions in lots of households in the capital currently. But these little machines are so affordable. Sure, there's no need to go around staring cross-eyed at pictures like you hate them. But it's much more satisfying to be able to see the effect with your own eyes. Well, I think so in any case. Stereoscopic pictures. I never heard of them until yesterday. You've certainly learned a lot about them, but I wonder if it's knowledge that I'll ever actually need. Second white photograph has been entered into the court record. That's a music box. Do you have them where you come from, Runo? Yes, but I've never seen one as large as this in Japan. Oh, well, this will be a treat. Shall we have a listen? What do you think? Isn't it a pretty sound? It's a beautiful sound, yes, but it's a little hard to enjoy when all the policemen in the room are giving you fierce looks. Never mind that. If any of them say anything, I'll tell Gregsy to have a word. Iris Wilson, Superintendent of Scotland Yard. Okay, just noticed that. Ah, look here. Oh yes, a bullet hole. I can see the bullets still lodged on the wall. Presumably, Mr. Winterbank wasn't practicing with his revolver in his spare time. Ah, well, Mr. Sholmes likes to practice in his drawing room whenever he can. He's very patriotic like that. Sorry? It's all there in the Adventures of Herlock Sholmes, you know? Isn't that right, Iris? Ah, did I write something like that? Partly in jest, perhaps. In jest? Well, he doesn't do it often. It's quite a dangerous pastime. He doesn't do it often? You shouldn't even do it once. Forget that for now, Runo. Let's examine this bullet. What's that around the bullet hole? Is it blood? Suspicious for it to say on the calendar. Aha! This is where I come in. Oh, right. The blood changes to be the same color as the sample from the storeroom. We'll know that it's Mr. Winterbank's blood. Exactly. Here we go then. Oh, so it's not his blood. It's completely different to the color that Mr. Winterbank's blood turned in the analysis. It just goes to show, things don't always go according to plan, do they? Nevertheless, we must add a sample to the results of the other blood analysis. Alright. These shelves are where the pawnbroker put articles that have been forfeited on display for customers to buy. Yes, it really is a strange miscellany, isn't it? I mean, who would buy this horse statue, for example? Well, sometimes you can find some real treasures among all the junk, you know? Are you alright, Bruno? Oh, it's just, well, looks like a collection of useless junk as a whole, but when you pick out individual things, you can't help wishing you owned them. Even that horse statue. That's exactly how the pawnbroker works. They're very clever. The police are scouring every inch of this place by the look of it. Instruction from the yard are to examine every article in the shop and every ledger and book of accounts. Every article? But that's a ridiculous amount of work, surely. We've been hard at it ever since the shop was declared a crime scene in the early hours. We're stiffing through it all in the shifts at least, but we'll be working through the night, that's for sure. And even then, we'll barely have scratched the surface. Crime in a pawnbroker's. Must be every policeman's worst nightmare. It's every cop's worst nightmare, you know? A crime in a pawnbroker's. What about you, sir? This officer has been staring intently at the wall since before we came in here. Shh! Keep it down! Oh, sorry. There's a major clue just here. Really? Then we must tell Gregsy at once. But as soon as I report it, that'll be it. I'll be stuck here even longer. Stuck here? What do you mean? I haven't been able to come home in 2 days already. I need another constable to relieve me and take over my shift. They'll have a tough time, these British police. That doesn't stop us investigating, though, does it? No, I suppose not. I'm fairly sure it was the calendar he was peering at. Well, I'm fairly sure this contraption was here yesterday as well. Here we are, though I'm not confident I can get it closed again. Oh, yes, that's a folding stereoscope. Really? This is a stereoscope? Mr. Shum showed us a picture yesterday that you were supposed to be able to see in 3 dimensions. But for that, he used a great big contraption over there. Well, that's used in public houses and places like that. He needs a carousel with all sorts of pictures inside. But this little thing is a much simpler design for use at home. There are special shops selling prints you can use in them. I have a little collection myself. I wonder if I could make money out of these in Japan. It would be keeping my toilet sparkling clean anyway. Okay, finally. I honestly got a little stumped there, so at some point they implied I needed to go back to the prison. Gia doesn't appear to be here. I believe she must be in question at the moment. Oh, but wait a minute. What is it, Iris? Well, if you examine the scene here carefully, there's another possibility, isn't there? Jeannie could have slipped the key from the jailer when he wasn't looking and escaped. Oh my! Why would she do something like that? You'd only make her situation worse. Calm down, Runo. I was only joking, of course. Oh. Ugh. Made me worried there. I thought it was a great deduction. Yes, it must be your way with words, Iris. You're so wonderfully persuasive. Perhaps you don't fully understand the weight of your words carry. Oh dear, I'm sorry. I suppose a light-hearted great detective is a contradiction in terms. Well, in the same situation, I'm sure Mr. Sholmes would have thrown his head back and gofled. I'm not entirely sure that's helpful, Mr. Naruto. Well, anyway, looks like we won't be able to talk to Gina for a while. We should try to make progress with our investigation in the meantime. Yes. Come on then, Runo. Come along, Susie. I was so close. I seriously doubted myself. The way you can identify differences in people's blood like this is amazing. You really are a genius, Iris. I know. I am. If Hurley and I put our minds to it, we could really shake up Britain's chemists and alchemists. And you could shake up Japan's lawyers and judges, couldn't you, Mr. Naruhodo? Oh, for sure, even if I didn't intend to. Mr. Naruhodo, I don't know if you've noticed, but there's something rather troubling here. I have noticed. The red smear, you mean? Yes, it looks like blood, doesn't it? I wonder if Suzato-san had picked up on that. Well, in that case, yes, we need Iris. We should show this to her before we forget. Okay. So I was right to update it, I just didn't look at the exact right thing. Okay, that's 10 minutes of my life wasted. Oh, that looks like blood. I would say it's from a gloved finger, almost certainly a glove made of leather. Oh, don't worry, Runo. You can leave the rest to me. Look at that. Yes, that's a color we haven't seen before, isn't it? We simply must add to the portfolio of blood samples. It could be an important clue. Although, it would be nice to find out whose blood these different colors correspond to at some point. Well, let's take a scan of blood. Oh, you had an idea, haven't you? Do you know whose blood this is? I think I do. Yes, I have an idea whose blood it is. Not from the color return, with a little deduction. That's right. I think it's clear. Iris, you know as well? You're first, Runo. Who do you think it belongs to? Alright, I believe that this is the blood of... Has to be Thrice-Fired Mason, right? Thrice-Fired Mason. You don't sound very sure of yourself, the way you trailed off there. Well, it was 2 months ago now, that case. And of course I never met the victim, so I'm struggling to remember his name. He was definitely thrice-fired, though. The victim of the omnibus case? Yes, his name was indeed Mr. Thrice-Fired Mason. But that would mean that this bloodstain was left on the ticket 2 months ago. Yes, I think it was. Gina brought this ticket here to Windibanks yesterday. I'm suggesting that the bloodstain was already on it all that time. So it's a smear of blood from the time Mr. Mason was killed 2 months ago. Something else is coming back to me now. Mr. McGilded was also wearing leather gloves that night.
Now I ask you, what good-hearted soul wouldn't rush up a fella bleeding from his stomach? I was about to start worrying about my gloves now, was I? Reach out to give the man a hand.
It certainly does look like a leather-gloved thumbprint, this mark. But we know that Mr. McGilded had no injuries at the time, anywhere on his body. From which we can conclude that any blood in the glove belonged to the victim, Mr. Mason. Mr. Naruhodo, you sound like just Mr. Sholmes. Minus the quirky slip-ups, I hope. You call me out of my English game? Yes, I think you're right, Runo. Very well. Let's make a note of this. Details of the pawnbroker's ticket for the coat have been updated in the court record. Well, analysis data has been updated in the court record. You present this to him. Inspector, what do you make of this? Ah, what have we here then? A redemption ticket for an article deposited here, is it? Looks like someone ran out of the office stationery and wrote the ticket on whatever paper was to hand. Yes, this is a ticket for Miss McGilded's overcoat. The one the little diver turned up with yesterday. Oh, actually no, it's not. Really? Think you know better than me, do ya? No, I didn't mean to, Bruno's right, Gregsy. It isn't the same ticket. Of course it isn't. Of course it isn't. I never doubted you, your ladyship. So, what's all this about then, if I might be so bold as to ask? This is a second ticket. A second one? It seems that Mr. McGill did, in fact, had another article in storage here at Windibanks. Is that right? I think we need to discuss this further with the inspector, Mr. Naruhodo. Oh, good, because he's ever so easy to talk to. This ticket was in one of the pockets of Mr. McGillet's overcoat. Eh? You mean to tell me? Yes, it was more than just a music box disc, it seems. I should have insisted on the lads taking it back to the yard and examine it properly. Well, according to the details on this ticket, Mr. McGillet deposited another article here with Mr. Windibank. Yes, I can see it written here. A small box, was it? Do you have any idea where it is, Gregsy? Any idea at all? It's another article belonging to Mr. McGilded. It could be an important clue. Well, yes, I suppose it could be. Please, stop looking at me with those big turquoise eyes, all full of hope and expectation. It's too much pressure. I'll lose me marbles, I will. I'll go barking. This is no time for dog impressions, Inspector. That's enough sauce from you, sunshine. There is one thing that springs to mind. According to this ticket, the redemption deadline's already passed, hasn't it? Oh yes, of course. Articles are only held for 2 months. So the small box will no longer be in here then. That's right. It's been forfeited. Which means it could be on the shelves in the front of the shop, where the forfeited items are offered for sale. Yes, the shelves in the front. You must search them at once. You're wasting your time. Oh? There are dozens of little boxes out there. Hundreds even. We can't possibly know which one might have been McGilded's. The information's not written in the ledger. Ugh. Well, I think we should at least have a look, just in case. Of course, your ladyship, of course. Very sensible of you, I'm sure. This is getting old. He said it, not me. Ah! He jumped out of my skin there. How could Mr. Windibank set such a wicked trap? I doubt he set out to scare anyone. Is that really the time? I think perhaps we should pay Jean another visit soon. Oh? Her trial is tomorrow. We must establish whether or not you'll be defending her. I think we should ask her one more time. She may have changed her mind. Don't you remember, Runo? You told her she could rip up the representation papers if she didn't want you to be her lawyer. Really? Did I say that? Yes, you did. The deadline for submitting the paperwork is fast approaching. In that case, we better hurry back to the prison and talk to Gina again. Okay, back to prison. Ah, Gina. Good. You're back. Ah! The police must have finished questioning her then. Oh, how was it, Ginny? Was it awful? Eh? Oh, didn't bother me. Thank you for the papers you signed before. It meant we were able to investigate at Windibanks. Oh, right. Don't you want to know how we got on? We've been ever so busy. What's the point in asking? Won't change what everyone's saying. That I did it. That's not... Gina, we came to ask for your final decision. Eh? What decision? About tomorrow's trial. Will you let me defend you or not? I must submit the paperwork now if you'd like Mrs. Naruhodo to represent you. Right, I see. She really lost her fight all of a sudden. But I know what that feels like. The worry is just so hard to bear. Oh, alright then. Blimey, give it a rest with your eyes, Iris. So come on then, fill us in. Who done it? Unfortunately, we don't know that yet. You don't say. We don't know yet, Gina. Mr. Naruhodo and all of us know that you are innocent of this crime. And while we haven't yet managed to work out who the real culprit is, there are a number of interesting facts that we have managed to establish. Oh yeah? Like what? Well, for example, the reason for you being there in the first place. I think I know why you broke into Windibanks that night. Looks like I'm going to have to take some evidence that clearly reveals the reason. And thrust in Gina's face. Or I could present it to her calmly, I suppose. Just go ahead and present that now. You found this in Mr. Windibank's storeroom. The manuscript of Iris' latest story. Huh? Oh, right. Well, that's good then. Curiously, the storeroom at Windibank showed no sign of being ransacked for items of value or the like. With one exception. The box file that housed this manuscript. It was you, wasn't it, Gina, who broke open the box containing this manuscript last night? Eh? You were determined to find out whether or not the Hound of Baskersville's, was really there. That's the real reason you broke into the storeroom last night, isn't it? Ah! Why don't you tell us what happened? Please. Alright, yeah. This is Baskerville's story. It's the latest Sholmes adventure, right? But it ain't been priced yet. So I figured, it's gotta be worth a fair few pieces of silver, right? Oh yes, at least 5,000 pounds. What? So, you intend to sell Iris' manuscript, did you? No, Ginny, how could you? What? Wait, no, hang on. Of course I wasn't gonna sell it. All I wanted to do was find out if the mantle script, or whatever you call it, was really there or not. That's the only reason I was in the place. For Iris' sake. Isn't that right? Huh? We knew why you'd done it from the start, Gina. Of course we did. But I knew you wouldn't do anything mean like that, Ginny. I just knew it. Well, when I saw the manuscript in the storeroom, it reminded me of what you said the night before.
Gone on to a lot worse than that, believe me. Barefaced lies to a lot of them. You just ain't realized it yet. I'm telling you, the mantle script ain't at Windibanks. You'd soon see it if you had a look. If I'm honest, I've wondered if Hurley's telling me the truth sometimes. I mean that sometimes I wonder if he might have hidden my manuscript somewhere I don't know. Even though it's wrong of me to doubt him.
Oh, Ginny, that was so sweet of you. Alright. I'll tell you why I did it. Just stop looking at me like that, Iris. It weren't because of Iris. It's not why I did it. I just wanted to know the truth, that's all. You wanted to know if Mr. Sholmes was being honest? If he had really deposited the manuscript at Windibanks? It's like I told you the night before. I never had a father. But Iris' lot ain't like mine. She's got a dad, only she can't see him. And I reckon That's gotta be Ardo. That's why she writes our stories. They're about our dad, really. That's what it sounded like to me, anyway. Last night, when I was listening to what you were saying, stories about Daddy? You mean they're not the adventures of a great detective, so much as the adventures of a great detective and his trusty partner? Well, that's how I see it, yeah. You're so thoughtful and so kind, Ginny. Yes, and we never thought any differently, did we? Look, give it a rest, will ya? I hate this chummy nonsense, do you hear? I hate it! I don't trust no one, right? That's how I work. Because if you don't trust no one can let you down. So leave me alone. Go on, scupper. I hadn't noticed until now, but it's unmistakable. Right there on both sleeves of that overcoat. There's some very suspicious red stains. What? Why are you looking at me like that? I think it might be worth presenting some of our other findings in that area to Gina now. The stains on the sleeves of your new coat, Gina. They're blood, aren't they? Not that I know it's blood yet. What? Blood, Mr. Naruhodo? You don't appear to have any obvious wounds yourself, though. So could it be the blood spattered from Mr. Windibank when he was shot last night? Let's not beat around the bush here. This trusty friend of mine will get results much faster than anything else. Eh? Take it easy, Iris. Don't move, Ginny. I'm going to shoot. Yeah, this really does not sound like the best thing to say when you are visiting someone in prison. Oh my god. Oh. Oh my. What the? Forget the sleeves. The whole coat is covered in blood. Of course. The black colored fabric was masking the stains. That's why we haven't seen them until now. And the blood has reacted with the chemical to turn a purple color, which matches one of our samples we've already collected perfectly. Yes. Now let's see. Who had the purple blood? Aha, yes, it was the brick maker, Mr. Mason, the victim of the murder case 2 months ago. I knew it. What are you on about? The victim? What do you mean? It's a rather uncomfortable situation, Mr. Naruhodo, but I think this makes things quite clear. It means the omnibus case is finally solved. The truth about who really murdered the brickmaker, Mr. Mason, is revealed. Oi! Can someone explain what's going on? Stop telling off a story. We can see now the victim's blood is all over Mr. McGilder's overcoat. But in the trial 2 months ago, the defendant said this in his testimony.
Yes, what could hurt so I wouldn't rush out the fellow bleeding from his stomach? I wasn't about to start worrying about my gloves now, was I? But he told to give the man a hand.
But if you look at this overcoat now, it's clear. These stains couldn't have arisen from McGilder trying to pull the victim to his feet. No, if that was what really happened, the blood wouldn't have splashed all over the front of the coat. The only explanation for this pattern of blood is that it splattered over McGilder's coat when he stabbed the victim in the stomach. I've tried to run from the truth for long enough, but there's no escaping it now. The true culprit in that case, Mr. Mason's killer, Magnus McGilded. Mr. Naruhodo, that horrible case is solved at last. And I helped the man walk free from that trial. I used all the twisted testimony and all that sham evidence to prove his innocence. How could I have let that happen? Bruno, did you believe him, though? Did you believe Mr. McGilda was innocent? I believed. Or rather, I think I was trying to believe. I wanted to. Because believing in those you represent in court is the defense lawyer's greatest weapon. A weapon? Like the knife he used to stab the victim? No. Before we came to Great Britain, a great friend of mine taught me a valuable lesson. You mean Kazuma-sama?
Listen, Ryunosuke. We lawyers are only human. We can't know for sure what is the truth and what is a lie. Which is why we must resort to our primary weapon. An unwavering belief in our clients. That's all we really have. Unwavering belief? Only when we truly believe what our clients tell us can we fight with everything we have for their cause. In any battle, there can be no victory without faith. So I believe you, unwaveringly.
What's funny, Gina? Core, sounds like in this empire of Japan you come from, everyone must be soft. Well, come on. Look at the mess it's got you into, believing in that bug tutter. Yes, I inadvertently helped a murderer walk free. Well, at least you learned your lesson now, eh? Believing in people's never worth it. Someone's always stabbed you in the back in the end. As soon as you let your guard down, you've had it. Take a leaf out of my book. Believe no one, get hurt by no one. Gina, may I ask you something? What? I'd just like to make absolutely sure. What would you like us to do with these representation papers for tomorrow's trial? How many times do I have to say it? Rip up and chuck them away. Are you really sure that's what you want? I bet that's what he wants and all now. Mr. I'm a believer lawyer over there. Don't forget it was me in that trial 2 months ago. I led everyone up the garden path, didn't I? And you're telling me you can believe in me after that? Not likely. Well, Mr. Naruhodo, lawyer's primary weapon is an unwavering belief in his clients. Ultimately, it comes down to whether or not I feel I can trust Gina after everything that's happened. I trust her. Gina, let me say it again. Please allow me to represent you tomorrow's trial. Eh? What, are you half-baked? Not at all. You've not once admitted to committing the crime, have you? Committing the crime. What's more, I believe that you're telling me the truth. Seriously? Mr. Naruhodo? Didn't you hear all of what I said before? I'm a born liar. Fibs just strip off my tongue. And I'm a diver, don't forget. I pulled the wool over your eyes 2 months ago and got you in all sorts of trouble. How would you ever trust me now? I just don't get it. Gina, I do understand why you choose not to put your trust in others. But I assure you, there is more to this life than you yet realize. What do you mean? The world we live in is full of people you would do very well to trust. People who won't ever let you down. Eh? It's true that I'm just a student of law, and I'm certainly lacking in courtroom experience. But I can promise you this. Whatever happens, and until my very last breath, I'm completely on your side. What? What do you expect me to say to that? Then it's decided. I will take these papers now and carry out the necessary preparations for tomorrow's trial. It would be a shame to throw them away now after it's been penned with your name so beautifully. Do what you like. You Eastern Lotar. I don't know what you are. I don't get you. She has taken herself off to the back of her cell. She never admitted it, but I hope she's feeling relieved. That turned out alright in the end, I think. Whoever is hiding there, show yourself at once. Eavesdropping is the height of cowardice. Mrs. Sato? Somebody is there in the shadows. I can sense it. Somebody who wasn't there before. What? Blimey, you're sharp, eh? Suppose you were using one of those mystic Japanese arts, like the art of stealth I've heard so much about. Anyone was being stealthy, it was you, Inspector. Gregsy! Oh dear me, I must terribly sorry, your ladyship. I didn't mean to startle you. How long have you been listening in on our conversation? Good grief, listening in? No. I just got word that there were some visitors who were refusing to leave, even though it was after hours. I assure you, ladyship, I only just arrived, this very minute, not a moment earlier. That's all it is, nothing untoward, nothing at all. After hours? Is it that late already? So then, I'll help excuse myself now, your ladyship. Ta-ta, toodaloo, cheerio, all the best, bye-bye, and bye. That's a lot of farewells, and not one of them appropriate her for her ladyship. Oh, but I want to have a chat. I'm terribly sorry, but time is pressing at the minute. Oh, I see. That's a shame. If I don't get this emergency of the Supreme Court dealt with sharpish, Lord Strongheart will... Well... Emergency? Lord Strongheart? Nothing! Forget I said anything! Anyway, I'm off! Alright, Gregsy. If you have to. Well, let's chat soon. Delighted. Sean, can't wait. If you please, my pleasure. That's a lot of pleasantries. Not one of them sounded sincere. Gregsy's so funny. He says such silly things. Certainly entertaining to see an inspector of the police fawning to a 10-year-old girl. But anyway, I wonder what this emergency is at the Supreme Court. Must attend the court's clerk office now before it closes. Yes, of course. Thank you, Mr. Sato. Kindly escort Iris home now, Mr. Naruhodo. I shall meet you there later. And so our investigation came to an end. Susato-san went to file the necessary papers for my defense of Gina the following day. And then it hit me. I could no longer suppress the wretched feeling that had been gnawing away at my insides. Tomorrow, Susato-san would be leaving Britain and making her way back to Japan. Naruhodo-san, it's been a very trying day, hasn't it? I do hope you're not too exhausted. What about you, Susato-san? Today's been even more trying for you, I'm sure. Mr. Sholmes was shot before our eyes. Gina was arrested. All in the back of the news that her father had fallen ill. She must return to Japan at once. I hope your father recovers soon. Thank you for your kind words. I wonder why it is that so many thoughts rage in my head like a storm. And yet, I seem unable to find the words to express any of them. I know exactly what you mean. Anyway, I have one final task to complete as your judicial assistant. Once that is done, I shall make preparation for my departure tomorrow. One final task? It's just 2 months since we arrived in London, but we've managed to establish this office. I was finally feeling as though we were settling in. I'd be lying if I said I felt no regret. I'm so sorry, Susato-san. It's just so sudden. I really don't know what to think. I've had no time to gather my thoughts. I know we've only been here a short time, but in my limited experience of the courtroom, I feel I've learned something. And what would that be? It seems to me there are many facets to people's personalities. Facets? And like a jewel, the light plays off them in the complex patterns, illuminating their actions and their motives. But we only see a small number of the total facets, and what is illuminated is only part of the whole story. What lies in the shadows? What do those facets we cannot see look like? Perhaps there are some parts we'll never lay eyes on for as long as we live. That's so true. Sometimes I feel as though I'm blind to so much, but I keep hoping that one day it will all become clear. That all the facets will be illuminated, and I'll finally understand how everything fits together. Naruhodo-san, I suppose what matters is that we keep our eyes open and keep moving forward, even if the way sometimes seems dark. It's amazing to think it's been just 2 months. You've grown so much. Sorry? I've what? Oh no, it was nothing. Unimportant. Do you know what time you will leave London in the morning? Yes, I picked up my ticket earlier. I shall be leaving here at 4 a.m. I see. Well, I'll escort you to the station. Absolutely not. Sorry? I'm sure you realize why I couldn't possibly let you do that. You have a very important day ahead of you tomorrow. Gina's trial. Yes, I know, but every word you utter will have the potential to determine Gina's fate. You must get as much rest as possible. Even though, like me, I'm sure you will find it hard to sleep. But please, for me, do try. You mentioned one final task a moment ago. What did you mean? Oh my! I nearly forgot. Please, I want you to have this. What is that? Some huge bundle of documents. It's my notes from the case 2 months ago. The murder that was committed on the omnibus. The Gilded case. It seems to me that this case of Mr. Windibank's murder, of which Gina is accused, is very much tied up with that omnibus case in ways that are not yet completely apparent. So I took the liberty of consolidating my writings about the case for you. With everything else she's had to think about, Susato-san still managed to do this, and all neatly laid out for me in her beautiful handwriting. It was my pleasure. I can only hope that it will bolster your case tomorrow for Gina. Thank you so much, Susato-san. I'll do my best to use it wisely. You really are the best judicial assistant in the world. Well, that's extremely flattering. But I'm sorry to say that I've been a complete failure. Sorry? I didn't quite catch what you said there. Oh, ignore me. I was just mumbling to myself. The Gilded case notes have been entered into the court record. She is not a failure. I don't care what the reason she gives later is. I'm calling nonsense. She is not a failure, and I refuse to acknowledge that. Well, it's getting rather late. I think you should go to bed now, Naruhodo-san. I must finish packing up my things in my room. Susato-san, I wish you the very best of luck tomorrow. Good night. Wait, there's something I need to say. What What was that? A secret technique of mine. The Susato shutdown. Shutdown? Please, I implore you. If we have to voice our goodbyes, I won't be able to hold back my tears. Susato-san. It truly had been a trying day. On our feet for hours, getting Gina to open up to us, and learning the truth about that nemesis of a case. Physically and mentally, I was exhausted, and yet the idea of sleep seemed impossible. But I forced myself to close my eyes. And as a cacophony of scenes of our lives here in London played through my mind, eventually, my fatigue triumphed, and I fell into a deep sleep. Yes, I quite understand. That is a great weight off my mind. Rest assured, I shall put everything in place, exactly as we have discussed. Thank you so much. It has been an honor and a pleasure to be acquainted with you, Mr. Sholmes. On the contrary, the pleasure has been mine. I bid you farewell, and Godspeed. My dear madam.